You want to improve your drawing skills, right? Well, these 12 exercises are a great way to improve your drawing skills. And a great thing is that they won't take up a lot of time. Even if you practice for like 5 minutes a day or half an hour a week, I'm sure that your drawing skills will improve. And also, you don't need to be a pro to do these exercises. They are really easy. Let's get started. Exercise number 1. For this exercise, we will be hatching. We won't be hatching eggs, but we will be cross-hatching and filling an entire page or digital canvas with hatches in different directions. This exercise isn't just great for your hand-eye coordination, but it's also very relaxing to just clear your mind and fill that canvas or paper. Exercise number 2. For this exercise, we will be filling a piece of paper or digital canvas again, but this time we will be filling it with circles. Start out with some big circles and then start filling the gaps between the circles by making smaller circles. Continue making these circles smaller and smaller until you really can't fit any small circles in the gaps between the circles anymore. This is a great exercise to practice your circular motions. Exercise number 3. For this exercise, again, we will be practicing making circles. This one is a little bit harder. Start out with a circle and then place a dot in the middle of the circle. Then try to make a circle like in the middle between that dot and the outside of the circle. Then make another circle between the inner circle and the outer circle. Try to make that circle in the middle between the circles, if I make sense. This is a great practice to exercise making circles. And you don't have to stop with circles. You can also do this exercise with squares, triangles, star shapes, whatever. Great exercise for your hand-eye coordination. Exercise number 4. For this exercise, we will be practicing making parallel lines. Start out with making a wiggly line like a snake and then try to make a parallel line next to it. Like you're giving that snake some volume and try to keep that space between the two lines, the two wiggly lines, try to keep that space equal on all the parts of the snake. So it won't look like the snake has eaten a mouse or maybe something way bigger. Just fill your canvas or your piece of paper with all these wiggly snakes until you start feeling more confident about these parallel lines. Exercise number 5. For this exercise, you can use these same snakes, those snake shapes that you've made, and try to copy the shape. Take one wiggly shape form and try to copy it on the right side. This really is a little bit harder than just making these wiggly lines and making the parallel lines, but it's a great exercise. Exercise number 6. Draw a straight line down the middle of your paper or your digital canvas and place some random shapes on the left side of that line. You can make triangles, squares, circular shapes. Just fill that left side of the line. Then try to copy those shapes on the right side of the line, making a mirror image. This is really a great way to exercise your artist's eye and your copying skills. So try to evaluate the sizes of the shapes that you've made on the left side, but also the angles of the lines that you drew. Really great exercise to practice your copying skills. Exercise number 7. This exercise is a great way to practice your sketching skills. First, I've made some shapes, a square and a triangle. Now try to copy these shapes, this square and that triangle, by just making straight lines. Don't lift up your pen or your pencil. You will find that it's quite hard to copy that exact shape of the square and the triangle. An easier way to copy these shapes is by making these small dots or short lines, like making stitches. Some stitches of the shape and then going over those stitches to create the shape, to copy that initial shape, that square and that triangle. Now, these are simple shapes, but in the same way you can sketch more complicated subjects. Not by making confident lines and making the line in one go, but by making shorter lines and then going over those short lines to create your final sketch. Exercise number 8. Let's practice copying angles. On the left side, I've made some random shapes, some angular shapes, and on the right side, let's try to copy these shapes. Really try to focus on the size of the shapes, but also on the angles. Try to evaluate the distance between the shapes and how steep angles are. This is really a great exercise if you want to be able to copy or evaluate reference photos or real life objects. Exercise number 9. Now, this is a really fun exercise. Who said you need to start with really complicated subjects and make a really photorealistic portrait or anything? You can just start out with these kids' drawings. These are really great exercises, and it might seem childish, but it is actually a really great exercise, because for an exercise like this, making that little cute bat, you need to evaluate the shapes, evaluate the sizes, and compare the size of, for example, the head compared to the ears. And evaluating these sizes and trying to copy these steps, that's a really great basic exercise. And if you make a drawing like this every week, for example, you will really see your drawing skills improve. Exercise number 10. Let's practice some pressure control. Use a brush that is pressure sensitive, that has pressure sensitivity set to brush size. So if you put more pressure on your pen, the line will be thicker. Now for this exercise, we will be practicing some control over that line, how thick or thin your line will be. So just make these vertical or horizontal, diagonal lines and vary the amount of pressure that you put on your pen. So you will have a varying line which will be thick and thin over the length of the line. Now if you make a line next to that thick thin line, try to do the opposite. Where your line is thin, you will make a thick line this time, and where the first line is thick, you will make a thin line, trying to, a bit like a puzzle, try to fit it next to that first line. And then just try to fill your page and try to get that feel for that pen pressure. It's a really difficult exercise, but if you do this often, even if you do this just like 5 minutes a day, you will see your pressure control really improve. Exercise number 11. This exercise is all about values. Trying to evaluate values in reference images or in real life. But for this exercise, we will be using a black and white reference photo, or you can turn a photo to black and white and try to evaluate the values that you are seeing. Now, let's say we want to pick the value that you see over here in the portrait. Now try to pick that same value with your color wheel. And then once you have picked that color, lay it down and compare it to the real value in the photo. This way you can evaluate your own skill, your own eye. See if maybe you tend to pick darker values, or maybe you tend to pick lighter values. This way you can train yourself. It's like a feedback loop. If you practice this often, you'll really see yourself improve. Finally, exercise number 12. Now, once you've got the hang of those values and you know how to pick the right values, you can do the same thing with colors. You can pick some random reference photos and try to pick colors. Try to match the colors you see with your eye and go to the color wheel and try to match that color with the color you're seeing in the photo. Just like with the values, you have this little feedback loop. You can see if maybe you tend to pick cooler colors or warmer colors. It's a great way to train your own eye. These were my 12 exercises to improve your drawing skills. I hope you liked this video. Be sure to leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, that would be great. See you next time in the next digital art tutorial.